If you are an office-based doctor seeing patients all day, I want to ask you a simple question. If there was something for $20 a month that once you know what it protects you from, you'd be willing to pay 100 times more, would you not want to know about it? Because most doctors are at risk. Hey, my name is Dr. Bart Kaczmarek. I'm a family doctor in Windsor, Ontario. I run a high-volume family practice here, and by constantly optimizing how I work, I've been able to fix a lot of workflow issues and operate on the highest level of family physician income in Ontario, which allows me to love what I do every single day. And in this video, I want to show you what is the single thing that doctors avoid more than paperwork? The internet! And it's not some fancy YouTube channels or content creation, it's just the fact that the internet exists, that the patients are forming their opinions, that they review us and they judge our clinics online. And this happens whether we want it or not. So most doctors that I know, whenever I ask them, they'll tell me, I'm not gonna look myself up. I'm not gonna read what those patients are writing about me. I'm not gonna get upset. And what it leaves us is we end up being bare and vulnerable. Like, there's no websites that we have. And if there is one, it's gonna be like some generic website with stock photos. There's no Google business profile. There's no opening hours. There's no responses to reviews. And it all seems as if we're pretending that this online world doesn't exist, as if it's beneath a physician ethos to take care of that. And if I really think about it, I think I understand it. It probably comes from our training or from our beliefs when we signed up for the training. I guess when I look back, I was thinking that when I'm done with my training, I'll be more of a belonging to some higher crust, and that the sacrifice and effort of medical school will give me automatic respect. I looked at the waiting rooms of other doctors full of patients, asking them, depending on them, and this creates this image that maybe we have some immunity against it. So before, it seems like this authority was assumed, reputation was private, feedback was indirect, there was no public scoreboard. And it seems like that this belief still lives with us. But that world is gone. And the problem isn't that the doctors ignore the internet. The problem is that the internet does not ignore the doctors. Patients will review us and share their opinions online with us or without us. And now I want to convince you why it is better that it is with us. Because if a frustration online doesn't get answered, it doesn't go away. It gets worse. Now the patient is going to think like, this doctor doesn't care. Or they're gonna think like, this is exactly why I was right. That doctor is an asshole because he doesn't even listen to his feedback. So now the good news, like a bad Google review can be painful and stressful, but on the other hand, it can be a blessing. It can be our only chance to look at ourselves, like this rear view mirror, to see what we're doing. Because as humans, I believe we're often blind, having so many blind spots in not seeing ourselves in the proper light, and being unaware that this review doesn't really create a reality. It just reveals something that was there before, and now you have a chance to look at it, to face it. At the end, I believe that we all went to medical school to make a difference. And to learn, right? And there are reports from the inpatient world that patient satisfaction directly correlates with clinical outcomes. And it doesn't mean that we're gonna have to give patients his oxycodone or antibiotics when they don't need it. Those outcomes actually correlate with satisfaction with less resources given out. Now, we all are aware that the information thrown in the internet once always stays there. But we also don't know how that information can translate into our direct workflow. So if patients don't have information about us, about our opening hours, they're gonna create more phone calls, more repetitive questions, more frustrated staff. And that pressure from the internet will directly translate on landing on your desk. So about 5 years ago, I did something that Charlie Munger calls an inversion strategy. For those who don't know Charlie Munger, he's a famous investor and a friend of Warren Buffett and his business partner. So what he did in his jobs, he talks about it in the internet, is that he looked at his new job and he analyzed what are the most catastrophic things that can happen to him in a job so he can learn about it and don't do it. So what we've done is we made a little experiment with my staff, and we sat down to the computer, we looked up local doctors in Windsor, we covered their names, and we looked at the most common complaints that the patient had about them. And what we discovered that the first most common complaints were, the receptionist is rude, no one ever picks up the phone, and I can never get into my doctor. Only number 4 was something about the physician, which was the doctor doesn't listen. Different clinics, same complaints. And if I look up the literature within the urgent care settings, the complaints are similar too. So that doesn't seem to be coincidence. It seems like a system signal. So once we learned this, we started thinking, why are those receptionists so rude? Why can't they just pick up the phone? But sadly, this is not attitude. This is math. So most clinics I know, they hire one receptionist for a physician, and some of them I know hire one receptionist for 2 physicians. And then all the time I'm hearing how the doctors are trying to cut down the cost, how proud they are of making their overhead lower. So in our clinic, we measured it. We get on average about 180 phone calls in a day, and an average phone call length is about 1.5 minutes. That adds up to 4.5 hours of pure phone time. Now add the patients checking in, checking out, the faxes, doctor wanting something from the receptionist, patients wanting something. And then we all seem to complain that, why is my receptionist not doing her job? Why is she not answering the phone? It is not a simple job. It is a mathematically impossible job. So if you had a chance to look at yourself in this rear view mirror of a Google review, you would be realizing that this is not the personality trait. It's the environment that we created. And blaming your staff under impossible workloads is terrible leadership. Again, this is not something we're doing deliberately, I believe, but without this honest self-reflection, we would never be able to be aware of it. And then being unaware brings me to my next point, that whenever I ask my colleagues what problems they encounter at work, what are the issues, they mostly think they're better than most. And that belief has a name, better than average effect. And that's something that was studied for the first time that I know of in 1981, where 80 to 90% of drivers assessed themselves as being better than average. And the same thing then in 1985 was extrapolated to other traits such as intelligence, leadership, and competence. And if you look at the Dunning-Kruger effect, that people with lower skill set tend to overestimate themselves, you have the picture of how blissfully unaware we can be as humans. And once it maybe has served us in the old times, in the evolution, where we needed some confidence to make a move, to leave our caves and go forward despite not having much skill, nowadays in the 21st century and in such a complex job as physicians, it doesn't serve us well, and it's good to be aware of it. So if I look at the third thing we detected in our mini survey, it's long wait times to see a doctor. And to me, it is very rarely a unique patient issue or a special patient population problem. It typically is associated with the workflow and efficiency. I've recorded several videos about it. You can check them out here or here. So here is the irony, the final message. You are not doomed. Winning in this internet front here is embarrassingly easy. It's like passing an exam just by showing up. Your competition isn't excellence. It's absence. And the smallest thing you do can elevate you to be a rock star. So this is fantastic news. Now with the minimal effort, you can both stand out from the crowd and protect yourself. So now let me tell you what that $20 a month really is. It's basic online presence. It's having a landing page with updated information. It's having a Google profile page. It's having updated hours. It's responding to reviews. And if you think about it, that if this is set up and you train your staff to maintain it, it's probably about 30 minutes a month to do it, which translates into about $20 a month in your salaries. And that $20 a month protects you from the patient's concerns going rampage online, from your staff being blamed unfairly, from the patient's concerns escalating to the CPSO in Ontario or state medical boards in the States. This isn't marketing. This is insurance. If we all think CPSO or state medical boards, how much would we pay to never have anything to do with them? Hundreds times more, right? So this is what buys you a good night's sleep and a peace of mind. So the bottom line is that you do not get to opt out of the online world. The patients will look you up. They'll form their opinions. They review and check you out like they're buying something on Amazon. And yes, we have become a commodity. And by embracing this fact, we are creating this transparency and more trust between us and our patients. And lastly, by staying involved, you get to decide at what moment you're going to control a potential conflict. Is this going to be upstream when it's easy, or is it going to be downstream when it's really hard? And this is exactly why I decided to spend this time to try to convince you to join the ranks of the doctors who are aware of how important online presence is. And not only how important it is, but also how easy it is to handle. So if you are a physician interested in creating a medical office that works both for the patients and for the doctor, please subscribe to my channel. Every week, I'll be posting the problems I'm encountering, how am I fixing them, things I'm trying, and what I'm learning in the real outpatient medicine world.